Hi, Gary Stearman with some very exciting stories from the nation Israel. And here to tell us all about the nation Israel from basically a first-hand point of view is a resident of Israel, someone who not only lives there, but he has also trekked to the high ground in Israel, and he has taken documentary DVDs. He's written about it. It's always exciting to talk to Aaron Lipkin. Aaron, welcome to Prophecy Watchers.
Shalom, shalom. Thank you for having me.
And it's good to have you here. I have right in front of me 4 DVDs. Number 1, Bethel, the Gate of Heaven. Number 2, Finding Gilgal, the Footsteps of God. Number 3, The Forgotten Feast, Shiloh. And number 4, The Divine Choice, Joshua's Altar. And we'll just take these in order and talk about some of the things that you can see when you go to Israel. We came to Israel not too long ago, and we visited this place that you're calling the Gate of Heaven. And I will always remember standing there, and the hair literally stood up on the back of my neck as I contemplated what happened in this location. It's amazing.
It's really amazing, and I'm so blessed to be able to live amongst all these places that are mentioned in the Bible. And, you know, I was born and raised in Jerusalem, and only after I moved to the biblical heartland, to Samaria, suddenly, you know, one day I took a ride with a Bible scholar from Ofra, and on the way from Ofra, where I live, to Jerusalem, he started pointing out the places that were on both sides of the road. And so just on the way from Ofra to Jerusalem, you know, the story of Jacob's dream of the ladder in Bethel.
Yes.
The story of Elisha and the bears on the left at Der Dibuan. The story of Jonathan, the son of King Saul, fighting the Philistines. All of this in just a short half-an-hour drive from Ofra to Jerusalem. I'm so blessed to be able to live in Israel and experience and see all these places.
So Bethel is what, a 10-minute drive from your home?
Yes, it's a 10.
That's amazing. You can go there anytime you want.
Yes.
You know, when I'm reading in book of Genesis, in chapter 13, verse 14, it says, "And the Lord said unto Abram, after Lot was separated from him, lift up now your eyes and look from the place where you are, northward and southward and eastward and westward." So God tells Abraham to stand in a particular place and then look in 4 directions. And then God says, everything you see, I'm going to give to you. Now, when you go to Bethel, you're not very far from that spot where Abraham stood.
Right. And you know, when you're living in the land and there's so much archaeology and new findings and new excavations, you start getting new dimensions to the biblical stories that we read in the Bible, that we've been reading in the Bible for centuries. And suddenly you find at the Dead Sea Scrolls the exact place where Abraham stood, and God revealed himself to Abraham and promised him the land, Mount Chatzor, which my village is on the slopes of that mountain. And again, it's amazing. I wake up every morning and I look into the distance and I see the mountain, the place where Abraham stood. And like you said, the hair stands behind your neck from so much excitement that you're there and you're seeing the places where these stories happened. And you know, I started out doing the first chapter about Bethel, not knowing where God is going to lead me, which other Bible teachings I'm going to do. And now after 2 years, we have 4 amazing Bible teachings that for some circumstance follow the route of the tabernacle. They follow the route of the Ark of the Covenant. I didn't do this on purpose. It just, you know, suddenly you look at it, oh my God,
You had some guidance. Well, this number one DVD on Bethel, you have a very interesting technique. You take your friend, and I believe his name is Josh Waller, right? And you sort of just walk around and you explain to him what is there, which is a very nice technique because you can put yourself in the place of Josh Waller and you can imagine that you're there and that you're explaining all of these things to me as you walk around and look at the things of Israel. And here at Bethel, the gate of heaven, as you call it, a number of different things are there to be seen. What are you looking at?
First of all, the fact that this is a mutual study. Every DVD is a mutual study of a Jew living in the land and a Christian that's coming to visit the land, talking together, and each of the sides sharing what they feel from their point of view about the stories that happened there. As you said, is a very special technique, a very special, unique way of touring the place. Bethel is a very important site in the Bible. When we read the Bible, Bethel appears in a number of places, but when you are in the site itself and you're reading the Bible, suddenly all these places connect because you're in that place. And so you find out that not only did Jacob dream the dream of the ladder in Bethel, but that later on the tribes brought the Ark of the Covenant to Bethel after the conquest of the land. Jeroboam builds the pagan temple when the kingdoms divide, because that was the place that Jacob said is the gate of heaven, the house of God. And so suddenly all these stories that are separate in the Bible connect to each other because of a certain logic, a certain event that happened to Jacob.
You know, I haven't spent a lot of time in Israel, and I've only been to Israel 2 times. And the fascinating thing about Israel is just standing on the ground there is unlike standing on the ground anywhere else in the world, because somehow, miraculously, these geographic locations have been preserved for 4,000 years, 3,500 years. They're still there. Someone laid down some rocks 3,500 years ago in a particular pattern, and they're still there. Now, how does that happen? If in America, if you lay down some rocks, they're gone tomorrow. Somebody else has picked up the rocks, moved them away, and all memory of that is lost. But in Israel, things that happened thousands of years ago are still on the ground. This is amazing.
It's a historical miracle. It's unexplainable. You know, in the States, the history is 200, 300 years, 400 years. In Israel, everything is in the thousands of years. The names of the places that we read in the Bible never changed. They stayed the same. You would think that they would change or disappear. But today, if you want to go to the place where Bethel was, you know where it is. If you want to go to Bethlehem, you go to Bethlehem.
Yeah.
If you want to go to Jericho, you go to Jericho. These are real places that still exist and you can visit today. And again, like you said, this is really miraculous.
It is. It has to be a miracle because all other places on earth change over time. And they're radically altered in many cases, but Israel remains the same.
Right.
That has to be a miracle. Your second DVD in this set of 4, Finding Gilgal, and it's the title is The Footsteps of God, and you took us up to a place called Argamon, which really is astounding because what it is, and we talked about laying rocks on the ground to form a particular outline, and doing that 3,500 years ago, and they're still there today, just as they were laid down 3,500 years ago. Again, and they're in the shape of a sandal sole or a foot. What's going on there?
And the interesting thing is that this is such an amazing finding that you would expect that people all over the world would know about it. And that brings me to Professor Adam Zertal, who we met at the Scholars Insider Tour in 2015. Professor Zertal, a non-believing archaeologist that thought that the Bible was a fairy tale and the stories there never really happened or were totally inaccurate, starts finding these amazing archaeological findings that belong to the Israelite civilization. And when he's surveying the Jordan Valley and Samaria, he's finding these huge footprint enclosures that were built by the Israelites that were used for no other reason than
Right.
the worshiping of God. And he finds 6 of them in the Jordan Valley and in Samaria. And to think that you can visit the same places where the Israelites worshiped the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, where the tabernacle stood, where the Ark of the Covenant was, again, is so amazing that these places haven't been ruined or changed or destroyed. They're still there. It's not spoken about in the Bible about the Israelites building footprint formations, footprint structures, and yet archaeology adds this special dimension to the Bible and to the understanding of the biblical verses. And suddenly, after you take notice of this special shape, you see that the word footprint or foot is very important, especially in the books of Joshua and the Judges and Deuteronomy. The foot is the Israelite flag. It's saying this land belongs to the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and to the Israelite people. And again, this is really amazing, and I'm using special drone footage that I took myself of these footprint enclosures, because otherwise you won't be able to see them very clearly. You have to see
Right.
them from up.
Now, at Argamon, there's a place where you can actually climb up into the rocks, a kind of a natural amphitheater there, and you can look down on the footprint and see it pretty well. But you think about that, and you think, okay, who laid those rocks there, and when? And those rocks were laid there under the direction of Joshua. Well, that absolutely boggles your mind to think about. You're looking at something that was laid there by the men of Joshua under his direction, and they're still there.
And they're still there.
It's worth the trip just to see. But then you have to interpret it. You have to analyze what was going on there.
Well, when you look at the footprint structure, Professor Zertal looked at it and said, well, first of all, what we can see is that there is a division. There are a number of compounds, inner compounds inside the footprint that show that there were different groups of people that were worshiping. Obviously, the priesthood, the Levites, and the elders. You see that the outer line of the structure is actually a procession road where people can go around and circle the footprint. So you can understand from that structure that the Israelites would circle around the center of the footprint during their worshiping. All of this really sheds new light on how the Israelites worshipped God before the time of the temple in Jerusalem. And I think that this really adds another building block in the fight against those that claim that the Bible never happened, that God doesn't exist, that the Exodus never happened. Professor Zertal found this and came to the realization that everything that he was taught about the Bible, about God, about the Israelites were just wrong, because he found the evidence to prove that all these stories are correct and are true and historical. And these stories are real, and they happened in real places.
In the Bible, I think it's in more than one place in the Bible that the Lord tells his chosen leaders, everywhere the sole of your foot shall fall on the ground, that place will be yours. And that footstep or that footprint become, as you call it, the flag of Israel, but it's a marker. It's God's promise that land is going to be yours. He's never done that for any other people on earth. That's unique. It's amazing, and to see it is to just be amazed. And you told me earlier there are 6 of those footprints that have been found, including the Temple Mount itself, which is in the shape of a footprint.
So that's actually the seventh footprint.
Oh, is it the seventh
Yes,
one? Okay.
there are six others that were found, and Professor Ziltal always liked to show the last seventh footprint of Jerusalem in his PowerPoint presentation, which I also showed in the conference in Norman.
Yes.
And again, the Israelites carried the tradition from the book of Joshua and the book of Judges through Samuel, through the building of the temple and the purchase of the threshold of Arvana on Mount Moriah to create the footprint structure of Jerusalem.
Wow. I'd like to talk about footprints more, but we have to move along here. I'm looking now at the third DV in this set of four, and it is the place that Americans call Shiloh, but over in Israel you call it Shiloh. And the title of this DVD is The Forgotten Feast. Why did you give it that title?
There's a mysterious phrase in our rabbinical texts that say that there are 2 days that are the happiest days in the Jewish calendar. Now, you would think that these days are the Feast of Tabernacles or Passover or Pentecost, but the 2 days that are the joyous days in the year are Atonement Day and the feast of the 15th of the month of Av. And the reason is that in those days, the women of Israel would go out dressed in white dresses and would dance at the vines and celebrate this joy, these 2 joyous events. And so there's a mysterious holiday on the 15th of the month of Av that today in Israel is celebrated as the Day of Love, or the equivalent of Valentine's Day, the 15th of Av. And so this special festival was celebrated in Shiloh, and we hear about it in the first time at the story of the concubine in the book of Judges, where the Benjaminites reunite with the rest of the tribes of Israel. And where do they do that? They do that in Shiloh at the festival of the 15th of Av. And later on, we read that Elkanah, the father of the prophet Samuel, would come every year on the feast of the Lord, which is again believed to be the 15th of Av, to Shiloh. Shiloh was the center of those festivities. And when you look at the Jewish calendar, you see that just before the 15th day of the month of Av, you have the 9th day of the month of Av, which is a sad day. It's the day when the 2 temples were destroyed, but it's also the day that the spies came back from the land to report to Moses and the Israelites. The Bible scholars in Israel believe that was supposed to be a joyous day, a day where the spies come to Moses and say, the land is good and we can conquer it. And if that was the case, then the Israelites would enter on the 9th of Av, and you would have a celebration of 7 days up until the 15th of Av. Another feast, basically, a forgotten feast. But unfortunately, the Israelites, the spies, gave the bad report to Moses and the Israelites, and the 9th of Av became a day of mourning. But if they would come and say, the land is good, we can take it, we can conquer it with the help of God, then you would have another feast, a feast starting on the 9th of Av and ending on the 15th of Av, which is a celebration of Israel, the celebration of the land of Israel, the celebration of the grape harvest. And so this special celebration is unique to Shiloh. That's the place where the big celebrations occurred.
Now, on the cover of Volume 3 here, Shiloh, you have an interesting looking view of a hilltop with a strange building on it, and that building looks down on something. What's it looking down on?
The tower that you're referring to is on the top of the ancient tell of Shiloh, the ancient city of Shiloh. Again, amazing that we can talk about the city that we read about in the Bible 3,000 years ago. It's still there. You can still visit it. And the big question mark about this site is, where did the tabernacle stand in the city? Where exactly was it? And so the tower that we visited during the tour overlooks the platform where the tabernacle stood. And when you visit there, you can actually see all the evidence that proves that that is the platform where the tabernacle stood, size-wise, directional-wise, everything is there, waiting for people to come and see and connect. And to think that that is the place where God appeared to Samuel and spoke to him, the presence of God, the Shekinah was there, and to think that prophecy was given there to Samuel is for us as Bible believers another dimension that we can connect to in our belief in God and in the Bible.
We are quickly running out of time talking with Aaron Lipkin, who guides tours in Israel. He also produces DVDs, and he's doing some writing, as I understand, and which is always laborious. We'll talk a little more later about something that he's working on, which I think is an amazing archaeological project, but just have to stay tuned because we'll talk about that on another broadcast. The fourth in this series of DVDs is called The Divine Choice, and the title over the top of the package is Joshua's Altar. Joshua's Altar. Let's see now. Joshua, he came in and he fought the Battle of Jericho, and then he came into the land and he went several places, and where did he end up?
Moses commands Joshua, upon entering the land, to go to the center of the land, to Shechem, the place where there are two mountains, Mount Gerizim and Mount Ebal. And Deuteronomy speaks about this ceremony, the ceremony of the blessings and the curses, twice. This is a very important event in the history of the nation of Israel. Many of the sages compare the ceremony to Mount Sinai, to the revelation in Mount Sinai in importance. And so Joshua fulfills what Moses says. He comes, he builds an altar on Mount Ebal. He brings the tribes to witness to the to the 12 curses and the 12 blessings that are recited during that ceremony. And this is basically a message to the Israelites. You've been in the desert. You saw the miracles of God in the Exodus, on the sea, in the desert. But now you are in the land of Israel, and you're starting to live a natural life. Don't forget God. Don't forget God's commandments. You have two ways. You have a choice. One choice is to go on the right way, the way of the blessings. The other way is to walk in the way of the curses. God wants your benefit. God wants to bless you, but you should choose the right way. And when you read the curses, you see that the curses speak about sins that are performed in secret. God is telling the Israelites, I'm everywhere. I'm in the public sphere, but I'm also in your house. And I can also see what's in your heart. Be righteous, do the right thing, be obedient to your God. And all of this is inherent in this special ceremony. And the amazing thing is that we not just have the two mountains, Mount Gerizim and Mount Ebal, like we have Shiloh or Bethel, but we actually have the altar on Mount Ebal, which connects the place and the biblical event together.
And we're running out of time, but the shape of the altar is specific. It has kind of a ramp. It's made of stones that are not put together with mortar. God commanded that this thing be put together in a particular way, and when you find it, there it is. It's put together in exactly the way the Bible describes it, that it should be put together, and it has a kind of a ramp-like structure, which is typical of the altars that were built in the Old Testament period, right?
Correct. And the ramp is being commanded to the Israelites as the way to go up the altar in the Bible. This is really amazing because everything in that altar really corresponds with what the Bible says. And this is part of the amazing archaeological discoveries that are being made in Israel in the last 20, 30 years that really strengthen the Bible and the veracity and the historicity of the Bible. And again, when you see this DVD, it really strengthens your bond with the Bible. And if you can share it with friends and relatives, even if they're non-believers, this is an archaeological discovery made by a professor of archaeology from the Haifa University.
And the amazing thing about it to me is that you can see it as though you're actually there. When you put this DVD in your player and look at it, you see views from looking down from a drone. You see side views. It's like you're walking around and actually investigating this thing for yourself. Something that Joshua actually built. That's amazing.
It's amazing.
It's still there.
It's still there, and you can touch it and visit it.
We have a couple of minutes left. I just want to tell you about the Aaron Lipkin archaeology package, we're calling it. These 4 DVDs that we've just been discussing. The Gate of Heaven, The Footsteps of God, Forgotten Feast, which he told you all about a minute ago, and The Divine Choice. The altar that Joshua built with his own hands, still there to this very day. And as we always do, when we put together these offers, we always try to throw in a little extra something. And you spoke at the July 15th through 17th, 2016 Rocky Mountain Prophecy Conference, and there you talked about Joshua's altar. I think this was your first public presentation on the subject, and we're going to include this with the package. And as a bonus, this free book, Target Israel. Tim LaHaye and Ed Heinzen wrote this, and it's still valid to this day because it talks about prophetically the politics that we should expect to see in modern Israel based upon Bible prophecy. Again, the Aaron Lipkin Archaeology Package, all 4 DVDs, Target Israel, the Joshua's Altar Presentation at Rocky Mountain Prophecy Conference, all of these for a gift of $79.95. Free shipping anywhere in the United States. Just go to prophecywatchers.tv and you'll find the online bookstore. You can scroll down to the offer, look for Aaron Lipkin's name, and look for the offer, the Aaron Lipkin Archaeology Package, and you can order. It'll come to you absolutely free of cost, no shipping charges of any kind, and I guarantee you, having watched these myself, that you will not be able to tear yourself away from your TV. He really does a great job. Aaron, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Always appreciate it. Keep those DVDs coming.
I will.
Okay. I'm Gary Stearman. Hey, you keep watching. We are. Thanks for joining us on Prophecy Watchers. You can find us on the web at prophecywatchers.com, where you can sign up for our free email newsletter, or follow us at facebook.com/prophecywatchers. In the meantime, keep watching, everybody, and we'll see you soon.